Now, with this basics, let's move on to other forms of pulse modulation. What are the other various forms of pulse modulation? So, rough comparison between the continuous wave modulation and pulse modulation shows that the pulse modulation inherently needs higher bandwidth. So, compared to analog or continuous wave modulation, the bandwidth needed by pulse modulation is always higher. Okay, so this increase in bandwidth is what improves the performance of the pulse modulation technique in the presence of noise. When compared to analog or continuous modulation, the pulse modulation will give us a better performance in the presence of noise. That is because of its increased bandwidth. And when we are transmitting the symbols in the form of pulses, bandwidth will surely increase. Okay, please remember that. Keep it in mind. They'll ask you what's the difference between pulse modulation and analog or continuous wave modulation. You have to tell. Such improvement in the bandwidth, okay, or in the noise performance, it can be achieved by representing the sample values of the message signal by some other parameter rather than amplitude. We saw when we represented the sample values in terms of amplitude, that is PAM, then the effect of noise was higher. If I want to get a better performance in the presence of noise, then I have to use some other parameter to vary in the pulse carrier rather than amplitude. And one among them is the width of the pulse. Instead of changing amplitude, I'll keep the amplitude of the carrier pulse constant, but I'll vary its width according to that of the message. Okay, so you can vary the width of the pulse according to the amplitude of the message. Then we call that form of modulation as pulse width modulation, also known as pulse duration modulation. Duration of the pulse will be changed relative to the amplitude of the message. And there is a problem with PDM, which we will see later as we proceed, for which we'll use a still better technique known as pulse position modulation. Here, the width of the pulse is also constant, the amplitude of the pulse is also constant. I'll just change the position of the pulses where the pulses are present, and that position depends on the amplitude of the message. So this PPM is a very widely used technique and highly popular technique. Okay. Here we also save on the bandwidth. We also have very good noise performance. So beautiful performance in the presence of noise. PPM also has a lesser power levels, in the sense you need not transmit very high power levels. In all those advantages are present in PPM. So we prefer using PPM more commonly. So let's show you how each one looks. PDM and PPM. This is our message signal. Okay. And this is the carrier, the pulse carrier. So this is carrier. Now the PWM or PDM, pulse duration modulation signal, you see, depending on the amplitude of the message, the width of the pulse is changing. So here the amplitude of the message is 0, so the width is so much. This is like reference. And as the amplitude increases, wherever we take the sample. So you see the sample, the pulse is taking a sample at this point. So accordingly, the width will change based on the amplitude. The next pulse is taking a sample somewhere here. See, this pulse, carrier pulse is taking a sample of the message where its amplitude is highest. So you notice this will be the highest width. So this will be the maximum width where we take the sample at the highest magnitude of the message. Okay. So people still keep joining at this point of time when we are closing. It's a shame on you. You people don't have the least bit of ethics. And if you like to work like this, I think you will be suffering greatly as time goes on. See, not following ethics, cheating is very easy at that point of time. But remember, this is called Kali Yuga, okay? And in this Yuga, again, one more person joined just now. In this Yuga, whatever is your karma, whatever work or things you do at this point of time, you have to face the repercussions in the same time. In the sense, if not today, it will be tomorrow or day after tomorrow. It won't be carried on to the next janma or whatever you talk of. You think all this is philosophy and all that, but that's what happens. Please remember, and sometimes you'll question, why am I facing so many problems? Why? Because you would have done something wrong or cheated at some other time. So you will be facing the problems when you least expect it. Don't follow such unethical methods. It's our duty to inform you. Those who joined in the nth minute, please leave. This is not the way to do it. There is no benefit of just getting the attendance, man, whoever it is. You have to learn the concept, and however clever you are, when you sit and learn on your own, things will take much, much more time than what time it takes when you listen to somebody teaching it. Okay. So here, at every sample of the pulse being taken of the given message signal, the width of the pulse will change. We'll have the highest width or highest duration at the maximum amplitude of the pulse. And you notice this pulse is taking a sample at the least amplitude of the message. So can you see the width of this pulse is the smallest, lowest pulse width I'll get when there is a pulse sampling at the least amplitude. But one thing you should notice, the total time duration of this pulse should be higher than the maximum width. Otherwise, you will miss some points. So this time duration of the pulses should always be greater than the highest width. This is called pulse width modulation or pulse duration modulation. And the last one is pulse position modulation, as I was telling you. Here, this is easy. I have to change the position of the pulses according to amplitude of the message, for which I will just take the PDM output. And at every negative going edge of the PDM, I am going to position a pulse. So this shows the completion of a pulse. There was a pulse somewhere here, okay? And at the negative going edge of this first PDM pulse, there is a new pulse, constant amplitude, constant width. The width of this all pulse widths in ppm remain the same. See, at the next negative going edge of the PDM, there is another positive pulse. The negative going edge of the next PDM pulse, third. So you see there is a variation in the position or distance between the pulses in the last one. That's why we call it as pulse position modulation. You see, this position is somewhere here. So the position or the place where we put the pulses varies. So according to the amplitude of the message, this is known as PPM, pulse position modulation. Hope you understood what this is. And as I told you, it is for us, PPM is more important. So we'll be analyzing this PPM in detail. PPM works best in the presence of noise and also has many other advantages. So we'll be discussing this in detail. And please remember, if I have to generate PPM, I have to generate PDM first and then PPM. Let TS denote the sampling time duration, and using the sample m of nts of a message signal m of t. So m of nts represents a sample of the message. Okay, and this sample, a small sample of the message, can be considered to modulate the position of the nth pulse. So if I'm having m of ts, that value, that message amplitude will modulate the first pulse position. M of 2ts will, remember, m of ts, m of 2ts, they are all amplitude levels, or they are small sample amplitude levels of the given message. These amplitude levels will change the position of the pulse. So m of 2ts will change the position of the second pulse. So based on the amplitude m of 2ts, the position of the second pulse will change. M of 3ts will change the position of the third pulse, so on. M of nts is the message sample amplitude, which will change the position of the nth pulse. Based on that, we can write the equation for ppm as follows. S of t is summation n is equal to minus infinity to plus infinity g of t minus nts. This ts is a subscript. Okay, t minus nts. What does this g of t minus nts represent? Can somebody tell me what is g of t minus nts going to represent? They would be the shifted pulses, right? They are, if this represents a pulse position modulation, I am having shifted versions of the pulses. So the shifted pulses will be represented by g of t minus nts, where ts represents the sample duration. And from this, we are going to separate k pm of nts, where this should be kp, sorry, make it kp m of nts. Okay, so this is how you have the equation. Kp represents a constant, which is what does this kp normally represent? Kf, kp, yeah, you have
Pulse
forgot.
modulation sensitivity.
Sensitivity, exactly. It is a measure of sensitivity of the ppm modulator, the pulse position modulator. Okay, ts is the sample duration, n is an integer, m of nts represents the amplitude sample of the message. It is a sample of the message. Now, if I subtract this sample of the message after multiplying it with the sensitivity, I will have the position of these pulses varying. The standard equation for a ppm modulated signal is something like this. Summation from minus infinity to plus infinity g of t minus nts minus kp m of nts. Okay, so this is the expression. Here g of t is the standard pulse of interest, and I'll just clean this out 1 second. And for the pulses in ppm, to be strictly non-overlapping, the sufficient condition is the pulse should be 0 for t greater than half the what? Sampling time minus Kp into m of t max. See, if we want to have non-overlapping pulses, I was showing you in this waveform in the previous slide. So if I want for every sample, if I want these pulses should be separate here, then this condition should be essentially satisfied. That is, the pulse duration or the value of the pulse should be 0 for all t which is greater than half the sampling time period minus Kp into highest magnitude of the message, which in turn requires that Kp m of t max should be less than Ts by 2. In the sense, the maximum value which we are going to generate for the width of the pulse in PDM should be what? Less than Ts by 2, half the sampling time or half the sample duration, or in other words, the position of the pulse should be satisfying these conditions in order for them to be non-overlapping. So this ensures that the signal samples m of nts can be recovered perfectly. Okay. Now, with this basics, please remember the equation. We'll move on to generation of ppm. How do we generate this ppm signal? This is a very interesting technique which we have to generate ppm. As you can see in the block diagram here, we initially have a sample and hold circuit to which the message signal m of t is given along with the pulse generator. So what is the job of sample and hold circuit? It will take a sample of the message. It works something like this. Say you have the message, and if I have pulses coming from the pulse generator. So this is your m of t and these are pulses coming from the pulse generator. Then the output would be something like this. I don't have much space. I'll write it here. See, wherever this pulse is there, it will take a sample of the message. So at this point, whatever is the message amplitude, it's taking a sample and it will hold that sample value till the next pulse comes along. So here, this is the second point where it is sampling. So the amplitude of the pulse increases suddenly. And after that, the pulse is going to hold on to that amplitude till the third sample comes along. In this third sample, it has decreased. You see, the message magnitude has decreased. So the pulse will also decrease, hold on till the fourth pulse comes. And in the fourth pulse, again, the amplitude has decreased. So it will go to that and hold on till the next pulse comes. This is the output of sample and hold circuit. Okay. So if you observe in the waveform shown beside this block diagram, the first two waveforms show the output of the message signal and the sample and hold circuit. Can you see? I hope you understood how sample and hold happens. Sampling happens whenever you have for every input pulse, it takes a sample of the message. So wherever the message is, that point is sampled and it will then hold on to that amplitude till the next pulse comes along. And when the next pulse comes, again the what? Sample amplitude is taken at that point, sample of the message is taken, then held till the next pulse comes. So this kind of output is sample and hold output. Is this clear? So the first part of the circuit is sample and hold circuit, and with sample and hold circuit, you see the message signal is sampled and held at constant voltage levels. So you generate something like a staircase wave, an increasing staircase and a decreasing staircase, which approximates the shape of the message. You see, when the message is increasing, it's a rising staircase. When the message is decreasing, it's a falling staircase. Okay. And next, I really don't know what to say. You people have the least bit of ethics. I'm really disappointed in this class. You come and join in the nth minute for the sake of attendance. If you keep doing this, I'm telling you, you really suffer somewhere else. You may get less internals. You may suffer in the exams when you cheat here. Keep cheating. I don't know. How many times to inform you? The strength which was 61, 62 has suddenly gone up to 66 after this. The worst ethics you have, if you practice this, you'll be really suffering. Don't complain in the end. Why I'm suffering like this? Anyway, so you're simply causing diversions. Once the sample and hold circuit output is obtained, that output is fed to an adder. The second input to the adder is a sawtooth generator. All of us know what is a sawtooth waveform. You can see the third waveform here. This is a sawtooth waveform. This is sample and hold output. This is message. Okay. So a sawtooth waveform is generated with the help of the pulse generator only. Whenever there is a pulse, I can begin a sawtooth. So every time there is a pulse, we begin and end a sawtooth. So you're going to generate constant sawtooth signals like this. Okay. See, the sawtooth can be like this or it can be like this. Both are right. Any one of them you can use. Once the sawtooth signal is generated, it is fed to the adder. The second input to the adder is the sample and hold output, and both these will be combined. Both these will be combined in the adder. You see what happens when we add these two? This plus this signal plus this signal, when you add, you get a signal like this. So this is output of the adder. Okay. Adder output will be summation of the sawtooth signal and the sample and hold signal. You see it varying according to sample and hold. Every time the amplitude is increasing, you see the sawtooth reaches the highest amplitude at this point where the sample and hold output has the highest magnitude, and it will reach the lowest at the point where it has minimum amplitude. So the sawtooth signal is varying according to S and H output. Next, what happens is you have something called threshold detector. You can set a threshold value. Say, for example, I can set some threshold value like 0, -1, whatever. We can fix up a threshold. Here, if I take 0 as the threshold, okay, whenever the signal goes above 0 or whenever it crosses the threshold in one direction, say either positive direction or negative direction, any one thing you can consider, you are going to generate a pulse. Every time the signal crosses the threshold, a pulse is generated as shown in the last waveform. Can you see this I of t? This waveform, it is below here. Please observe carefully. Every time this added output crosses the threshold, a pulse is generated. That threshold level can be taken as 0. It can be taken as +1, -1, anything. And one more thing, you have to keep the threshold whenever it crosses the threshold in one direction. See, if I take 0 as the threshold, it is going to cross 0 when it's increasing as well as when it's decreasing. I don't want both the crossings to be noted. I want only those crossings when it is crossing 0 in one direction. Say when it is going in the negative direction or positive, any one you consider. So when it's going in the positive, I'm going to have one pulse. Next time it goes positive here, then another pulse. Third time it goes positive, another pulse. So you see the time duration will be changing. So here it's going positive here, again another pulse. So the position of the pulses are changing. You're going to get pulses whose positions will vary according to the sawtooth signal's amplitude. Like whenever the sawtooth is increasing or decreasing depending on the crossover points, the crossover points will happen at different instants, and the width, I mean here it's not seen clearly, the position of the pulse will be changing. Now whatever signal we have got with changing positions, that is passed through a pulse shaping filter, and the job of this pulse shaping filter is to convert these small pulses to a pulse of proper width and duration. All the small pulses which are generated here should be converted to pulses of correct width and amplitude. So each of these pulses will be converted to pulses of same width and amplitude levels. So here it's very small width, amplitude is also small. So we can modify the width correctly by using this pulse shaping filter. So you will be generating pulse position modulated signal in this circuit. I hope you follow. Again, the waveform is shown clearly here. Message, sample and hold output. This is the sawtooth signal which is also generated using the pulse generator, so that they will have a sawtooth in the same time period as the pulses. Now this is the adder output after adding sample and hold with the sawtooth, and then you see for a threshold value, every time it goes below the threshold, a pulse is generated. Wherever it is crossing 0, a pulse is generated, as you can see in this. It is more clearer here. It's every time it's going below 0. Whenever the sawtooth added signal goes below 0, you see a pulse is generated. So here it's going below 0 here. So finally, this will be fed to a pulse shaping circuit to generate pulses of constant width and amplitudes. Okay. In the end, you will be generating pulses of constant width and amplitudes, which are spaced close or far apart depending on the message signal. So the spacing or position of the pulses will change, but the width and amplitude of the pulses remains constant. Is this clear? This is how we generate PPM. If you have any doubts, please ask.